Okay, so I was in two minds whether to do this video or not, um, but I decided that I really wanted to try and make positive of some of the things that Steve and I have been through when it comes to pregnancy and loss. Although it is a story, it is real life, and I know I was searching the internet and everywhere just to try and get some answers or some understanding of what's to expect, what we go through, and everything else that comes with it. So I'll start at the very beginning. So I met Steve back in 2009, so nearly 10 years ago, at a house party on a blind date. It wasn't love at first sight, but things progressed and we ended up getting married, buying a house, and after 8 or so years together, we decided that we'd like to start trying for a family. So we started trying on our honeymoon, which is back in November 2016, with no expectations. We didn't really know what to expect, but we started trying nonetheless. And 8 months later, in July, was when it all started. So I went on a hen do to Portugal, had a great time, and when I got back, my period was about 4 or 5 days late. We didn't think too much of it because I wasn't really tracking too much, and so I had my period as normal, and then the week after we started trying as we had been doing, and I was taking ovulation sticks, and I took one on the Monday, and it came up really, really strong 2 lines. And I thought, oh, that's a bit unusual because normally it builds up and you get a really strong line just before you're due to ovulate. So I said to Steve, oh, I have been told that these can pick up pregnancy, but I'd had no symptoms or anything like that, so I didn't really think too much of it. I said, I'll just take a pregnancy test just in case. But at this point, I was a little bit addicted to kind of weeing on a stick anyway and seeing any kind of line. And so I took a pregnancy test and it came back positive. And I said to Steve, well, I don't know how that's possible because I've just had my period a week ago. So I rang the doctor and explained, and they said, go to the early pregnancy unit and go and get checked out kind of thing. So I did. So I got there. It was too early to tell anything on a scan. So they decided to do blood tests, and the blood tests for a thing called HCG, and if it's above a certain level it means you're pregnant, and it's supposed to double every 48 hours, and if it's doubling every 48 hours it means that it's a viable pregnancy and it's going well. So I had the bloods taken, went home, waited for the results the next day, and they gave me like a baseline, and I had to go back 48 hours and have some more. And when I went back in the 48 hours, they said that it wasn't doubling. It'd gone up a little bit, but not a lot. And they said, well, we'll redo the test just to make sure in another 48 hours. So by this point, we didn't really know what was going on. So we didn't start getting excited or anything. We just kind of were waiting for these numbers. They called back, and after the next lot of blood tests, and said, oh, it doesn't look good. The numbers only gone up 0.1. So they called me in and they said, you are still pregnant, but you are going to miscarry. So I was very confused. We were due to go to Malta on holiday the next day. And I said to them, I don't really understand how I can have a period and then a week later be pregnant and then miscarry kind of thing. Turns out that it was twins. So I had lost the first twin, what I thought was my period, but it was more like a chemical pregnancy. It was very, very early. And then we went on holiday and I naturally miscarried the second one while we were there. It was very much like a heavy period that was really painful, but it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. Like, I thought it had been portrayed as it was going to be this massive load of blood and everything, and it wasn't like that. I think it was because it was quite early, so it turns out I was about 8 weeks when this happened. So obviously it was devastating, and we were very upset and very confused. And I came back, and I remember sitting on the bus from the airport to the car rental place when we got back, and just bursting into tears and just saying, I went to Malta pregnant, I've come back not, and I just feel so empty and sad that, you know, we've experienced this. But we didn't want to stop there. We were determined to try again. It was very early, and it was kind of felt like it was over before it really even began, because we didn't have a chance to get excited or anything really. We hadn't even told anybody at this point. So that was in the August of 2017. We then went on holiday for our first wedding anniversary in September to Cyprus, and we decided then it worked out that it was trying week. So obviously you're on holiday, so everything's a little bit easier. It sticks with us just because that became part of our lives in the end. And we came back, and after 2 weeks, we found out we were pregnant again. It felt so different this time. It all kind of, the dates worked out, and we were just quite excited to see the 2 lines and the test, and we thought, right, this is our time now. This is our chance. So the weeks went by. My symptoms started, ramping up a little bit. I felt quite sick most mornings, and I was really tired. Apart from that, nothing really. And we were getting closer and closer to the 12-week scan. And at 10 weeks, the scan had already been booked and everything. But it was a couple of days before I was 10 weeks. So I said to Steve, I feel like my symptoms have kind of stopped, like gone away kind of thing. There wasn't anything else to it. I just kind of felt like something wasn't, I don't know, I can't really describe it. Everyone was saying I'm paranoid because I'd obviously lost the ones before, so, maybe I was just overly worried, which I did think, I could be. But I thought, well, I know there's an option of getting a private scan. So I said to Steve, well, how about we just, get one anyway, because even if it's nothing, we get to kind of see the baby. We hadn't seen it up until then. So we decided to go in and get this scan done, and we pulled up, and excitedly nervous as well, went into the waiting room, and there was just really loud music playing, and just thought, gosh, it's a bit overbearing, trying to fill in these forms and how many weeks you are and things, and there's this music blaring. But we filled it in, people came out before us, all happy with the picture. I thought, I'm going to get a little picture as well. And so we went into the scan room, and I laid down, and I've been Googling since the day I found out I was pregnant, what an 8-week ultrasound looks like, what a 10-week ultrasound looks like, and just kind of getting excited of what we're going to see on the screen. So I laid down, she put the gel on, and she was quite quiet, and she was doing it, and I was like, looking at the screen, I thought, I was expecting to see. Like, I could see there was something in there, but I was not really see anything moving about or anything like that. Just like a little kind of thing like this at the bottom of the screen. And I was like, it's not good news, is it? And she was like, oh, hang on a minute, I'm just going to do a few more checks. And I was like, no, it's not good news, is it? Like, that doesn't look like what I was expecting it to look like. And she was like, no, I'm sorry. And I was like, oh, please just stop. Just stop. Burst into tears. Steve was in shock because he'd been thinking that, everything was fine, and just thought that maybe I was just a bit worried. Burst into tears, wanted to leave instantly, had to go back through this waiting room of loud music, and just wanted to call my mum. I got outside, and I had to say the words again, that I've lost the baby. We just didn't know what was next, what could have happened. So then they told us to go back to the early pregnancy unit, but this was on a Saturday, and it's closed, and there's nowhere else that you can really go. So we had to go home and just cry, really. We didn't really do much else. Um, walked around a little bit and then waited till Monday came. Went back to the early pregnancy unit. They had to do 2 scans to confirm that the baby had died. Turns out they had died weeks ago. I just didn't know. It was called a missed miscarriage. So so then they said, well, you haven't miscarried naturally, so there's a few options. You can either wait to miscarry naturally, again, you can take the tablets to bring on the miscarriage at home, or you can have the surgical option, which is where they manually take the baby out. I just at that point was beside myself and just didn't know about these options. I didn't know this was kind of how it worked, but we decided to go for the surgical option because they could book me in the next day. It was just done at the outpatient unit at the hospital. Went in and had to have a tablet to kind of soften the cervix. Had to have that, vaginally, which was uncomfortable, but nothing compared to the grand scheme of things, I suppose. And then you go for a general anaesthetic, and I remember saying to them, they had to tape all my jewellery up, and they were putting the mask over my face to put me to sleep while they were putting the injection through the cannula for the general anaesthetic. And I remember saying to them, oh no, oh listen, I think they were like, yes, we know, we're very sorry, kind of thing. And what I was trying to tell them was I've still got my belly button piercing in, but then I was knocked out. And I remember when I came round, and it's very quick and over with. And when I came round, I saw that my belly button had been taped, but that upset me because then I realised that they obviously had to. It was quite invasive, and realising what had kind of happened. I just went home a couple of hours later. We both just felt so empty, and just didn't really know what to do. Just couldn't believe that it had happened twice. It was just awful to think that we'd now lost 2 pregnancies. I just didn't know what to think or do. But we went back to work and had to kind of pick ourselves up, and then we had to make a decision: do we try again? Because is it just going to keep happening? I don't know how much more we can kind of do. It puts a strain on everything, on your whole life. You question why am I going to work? Why am I trying again? Going through all of that, and it becomes very consuming very quickly when you want to have a baby, and you get that far, and it's over. But we did decide that we would try again. So the months passed. I healed very well, very quickly, and we started trying again pretty much straight away. Nothing happened for a few months, and then we went on holiday in January to Thailand, and I convinced myself that I was pregnant and everything else, and had negative tests. I wasn't. But after the operation, all my period symptoms were mimicking pregnancy symptoms, so it was very confusing and it was very upsetting. And I had another few months of negative tests, and then March came. And this is where, I'm gonna get upset already. This is where Bo's story starts. Sorry. So March comes. The 14th of March, actually, which was my mum's birthday. And we'd been trying as normal. I didn't really think too much of the symptoms that, for the 2 weeks, because I thought they were just mimicking pregnancy period symptoms again. But I took the test. counted down every single day until I could test, and there it was. There was a really faint line, and it was amazing. It was just, we just felt so lucky to be given another chance. And we thought, right, third time lucky, this is a miracle, but we won't get excited yet because we know what can happen. So let's just take it day by day and, see what happens, because it's very early and everything else. So I took test after test after test. I tried to think how many tests I actually took, but I did, and they were getting stronger and stronger. And I did the Clear Blue Digitals, which tell you how many weeks, and I did them every single week until I got the 3+, and was just, ecstatic that it was going what seemed to be the right way. I then, at about 6 weeks, had a big bleed, and I wasn't actually that upset. I just assumed that it was another miscarriage, and by that point I'd come to kind of expect it anyway. So we went back to the early pregnancy unit, and I told them what had happened, and they said, okay, well, we'll book you in for a couple of days and scan you and kind of see what happens. So I'd only told my mum at this point, on her birthday, that we found out we were pregnant, and so I just told her that we were going back for this scan. So the 2 days passed, and I went back, and it was actually Easter Monday, and we went in, and we'd said to the scanning lady that, it's probably not good news. I think I'm about 7 weeks ish, 6-7 weeks, but I don't think I am anymore. So she said, okay, darling, lay down and we'll kind of have a look. So I laid down. I was looking at Steve, and he was looking at me, and the lady went, oh, there it is. And I was like, there, what is? Like, and she was like, oh, there's the baby. She was like, oh, nice heartbeat. And I was like, what? Like a heartbeat? Like, what? It's still there? And she was like, yeah, everything looks great. She was like, you're measuring about 6 weeks. She was like, everything looks great. And I said, oh, really? She said, yeah. She said, I can see where you were bleeding. She said it's called a hematoma, which is like a blood clot, and it was underneath the baby. So she said it will just bleed out, and it shouldn't cause any complications, but we will see you in a few weeks just to make sure that it's either gone or if there's anything else kind of that they need to do. So we were ecstatic and left this scanning room, with a whole new hope, and with a bit of worry because we didn't know about what a hematoma was or anything. But nevertheless, we saw a baby, and it had a heartbeat. It was like a little jelly bean in the top right hand corner of the screen. So we got home, and the weeks passed, and it did end up, I was bleeding for a couple of weeks, but because I had expected it, it wasn't too bad. And then got to about 10 weeks and went back for another scan, and it was great, and the hematoma had gone, and everything was very straightforward, and it was all measuring okay, and it looked like what it should look like at that stage. And then we started getting, a bit excited. We'd seen the baby moving and wriggling, and it kind of waved at us, and we decided we didn't want to find out the sex anyway, but it would have been too early then. But we were just guessing what it would be and everything. So the weeks carried on passing. Everything was really straightforward and just wonderful. And then we got to the 12-week scan, and they tell you to fill up your bladder so that you get the best view of the baby. And I was in so much pain in the waiting room. I just filled it up so much. And when we went to go and get scanned, she put the gel on, put the probe on, and she went, oh. And I was like, oh no. What? Like, what? And she was like, oh, Lauren, look at your poor baby. And I was like, oh, what? And I looked at the screen, and this poor little baby was squished down the side of the screen when my bladder was just taking over the whole picture. So she told me to kind of empty my bladder a bit. And then I came back in, and we had the most amazing 12-week scan where we thought, I can't believe we've made it this far, and this is like really it now. And got the pictures, and then we decided to start, kind of telling people, which was amazing. Everyone was thrilled for us because we told people about the 2 miscarriages after they kind of happened, a while after they happened. We kept it quite private, but we decided that when we were telling people about the second pregnancy, we would tell them about the first one. And then we only told kind of a few close friends second time that we were pregnant, and family. And then this time we decided to not tell anybody until we'd got past this 12 weeks, because 12 weeks everyone kind of thinks is like a safety kind of zone. The miscarriage rate drops quite a lot, and it's just a really big milestone to get to. So we did tell people, and everyone was very excited and pleased for us, and we were too. And then it carried on perfectly. I got into like the second trimester where I was feeling great, and I started to get like a little bump, which I was, I thought it was massive at the time. When I look back at pictures, I think I was just desperate to wear maternity clothes and to really be pregnant. So I look at the pictures now and I was like, oh, that really wasn't much of a bump, was it? But I thought it was. And then I started feeling the first movement. I felt my first kind of flutter the day before I was 17 weeks. Wasn't too sure what it was, but it was that, because you kind of, as the weeks go on, you feel it more and more, and you realise what you were feeling was the baby. And then Steve got his first kick on the outside, and it was just magical. Everything was just absolutely amazing. And we decided at about 19 weeks we'd go on like a little baby moon to Florida, and we just got a villa, and we just wanted to chill out for a week and just enjoy the sunshine, and also shop, because they've got some really good outlets. So we were like, we wanted to buy the baby some things, and Steve needed some new bits. So we had a great week, and everything was brilliant. And then we knew that when we were getting back, it was going to be the 20-week scan, which is like the halfway point. So we got back and we had the 20-week scan, and everything was measuring perfectly. I couldn't believe how big it looked on the screen. Didn't find out whether it was a boy or girl, and it was amazing. It was just such a good scan. You got to see so many details about all their spine and their heart, and this bit upsets me because you got to see the heart beating really strong, and it was beautiful. They couldn't get a very good picture for us because their head was so low and the baby just wasn't cooperating. We tried everything to get them to move up and out, but they weren't having any of it. So we said, don't worry, just leave it. And we thought if we wanted to, we'd get another private scan or something if we wanted to see some more detail. But we weren't too worried. We just wanted everything to be okay. And it was. So we left there. And the weeks carried on progressing, and my bump was really growing at this point, and I was loving everything that kind of comes with it. Everything, absolutely everything. Nothing was a trouble, nothing was a complaint. I felt the best I've ever felt in my whole life. Steve was loving it. We were getting really excited, and we started buying things, and we'd done a whole nursery all set up, bought loads of clothes, like neutral things, car seats and buggies, and absolutely everything that we'd dreamed of doing for so long, and loved every minute of doing it. And then 30 weeks came, and still things as normal. By this point, I could start feeling a little bit of a pattern to the movements, so I knew that in the evenings, late afternoon evenings, I would get the most amount of kind of kicks and movements and rolls and things. The movements kind of change from kicks that kind of catch you off guard to more like they're turning, and you've got a little bit less room, so the movements kind of just change. It kind of looks like they're trying to escape, like something from Alien. It's very strange and very amazing all at the same time. And then 31 weeks came, and I said to Steve, we were sitting in the garden, and I said, Steve, I haven't really felt the baby much, this afternoon kind of thing. And he was like, oh, right, okay. And I was like, well, they always wake up when I have dinner, so I will have dinner. and then we'll see how we get on. So I had dinner, still hadn't really felt anything. I thought, I'll have a bath after dinner because, that's another time where you can normally guarantee it. So I had a bath and some cold water as recommended online. I felt a little bit, I think, but not as much as I normally would. So I got into bed and I said to Steve, something just doesn't feel right. So he said, well, why don't you call the maternity unit, which is it was a midwife-led unit where I was due to have the baby. So I rang up and they said, how many weeks pregnant are you? I said, I'm 31. Haven't really felt the baby too much. It was about 7 o'clock at night at this point. I said, about 5 hours now, I haven't felt much. So they said, okay, well, come in and we'll get you, hooked up and check you out. So I said, okay. So I got dressed and Steve said, oh, should we take the hospital bags? Because they were all packed because, we were so excited. I think I packed and repacked 100 times. I said, no, I'm sure it'll literally just be a little check and we'll go home again. So we drove up to the maternity unit and got there. They hooked me up to what's called a CTG like machine scanning thing, and it basically measures the baby's heart rate and movements. So it hooked me up and I was on it for a little while, and she said, I'm just going to go and get somebody else to have a look at this. And I was like, oh, okay. We didn't know what we were looking at. We could hear the heartbeat, we could see it on the screen. We didn't know what was good and what was bad kind of thing. We just thought, we heard a heartbeat, so everything was okay. She came in and she said, I've called an ambulance. And I was like, really? Like, why? And she was like, oh, it looks like baby might be in distress. And I was like, oh, right, okay. Like, still didn't panic too much because we could still hear the heartbeat. So then she said about if we do go on to deliver the baby tonight, and I was like, deliver? Like, I didn't go. I don't know. I was like, I didn't expect that kind of thing. Like, okay, right, maybe things are worse than we thought. Took a little while. Laid there, still on the monitor, and Steve was sitting there like me, a little bit in shock, and they started putting the cannula in my hand. By this point, I'd gone into like an adrenaline shock, and I was shaking, and they couldn't get the cannula in. I was trying to calm myself down. I managed to get it in. The ambulance arrived, and they took me in the ambulance, and Steve followed behind in the car. It wasn't blue lighted, and the midwife came with me, and I don't know, it was weird kind of sense of calm, but not really knowing what to expect or anything. So we turned up at Broomfield Hospital and went up, and they took me into like a delivery room. I'd never been in one of them before, so it was all very strange. I saw the thing that they weigh the baby and do all the vitals and birth in bed and things. And as soon as I got there, there was about 8 different people in the room, consultants, doctors, and a surgeon. And they started getting me to sign some different things and asking my permission to get me into a gown, and they taped my jewellery and started prepping me for a C-section. And while they were doing this as well, they were getting the machines in. They did a bedside scan. They didn't really say all that much, so I don't really know what that was about really. And then they asked if they could give me some steroids, which is an injection in your leg. You have to have 2 lots of that to mature the baby's lungs quicker in case they are born early. And started giving me magnesium sulfate through the cannula. And then they put me back onto the CTG machine, and I had about 3 hours of being on that, and they still said it was quite erratic kind of thing. But everything, it's all a bit of a blur, because then everything kind of calmed down, and the doctors kind of were not really in and out anymore. I was being looked after by a midwife. It was all through the night just being monitored. So that went on for the rest of that night. They kept me in the next day, and they wanted to keep me for another night just to monitor things. And then they let me go home after 2 nights and 3 full days. But on the basis that I would be hooked up to a CTG monitor every week, twice a week. And I was now classed as high risk. It turns out the baby's heart rate had dropped so dramatically, so unbelievably bad on this graph, and when we looked at it, we couldn't believe it. It went off for nearly 7 minutes. It was horrific to look at the graph. It was so erratic, but we didn't notice at the time. Everyone was so calm, and although there was lots of people, they were talking, and I don't know, I can't describe it. It was very surreal. But we went home, and I had my baby shower planned for the Sunday, and we got home on the Friday. But I was like, well, let me go. I think everything's okay. I'd felt the baby as normal, so I went ahead. I had a wonderful little baby. It was more like a gathering. It wasn't really a proper baby shower, just a few games and some food, and it was lovely. It was really nice. We got absolutely spoilt rotten. Everyone was so excited, and everyone at that point were all counting down the weeks really to meet the baby. It was amazing, and I just couldn't believe we'd got this far, and with that scare as well, we just felt so lucky, and so we were like, right, let's just really, enjoy these last few weeks before the baby comes. I'll just take it slightly easier. So a couple of weeks passed, and we got to a Monday. I can't even remember the date, and I said to Steve again, I'm not too happy with the baby's movements again. I don't feel like I felt it very much today, and I think maybe we should get checked out. And he agreed. So we went up after work and got checked out. I got hooked up to the monitor, and there was the heart rate, and it was okay, but there wasn't really any movement. And also, by having quite a few of these CTGs by this point, I kind of knew what to look for. The baby's heart rate wasn't supposed to be really steady. It was supposed to have quite a lot of accelerations, and when they move, the heart rate accelerates. So that's what I was looking for, and there wasn't really any accelerations, but the heart rate has to meet the requirements of the graph to get a tick, and if you get a tick, that, everything is okay type thing. So I was on it for about 40 minutes, and it wasn't given a tick, but also I felt like something wasn't right anyway, because I could see on the thing that it wasn't accelerating, and I couldn't feel any movements. So she said, all right, we'll try you on your left side, have some water, and we'll try you on a biscuit, and that kind of thing, see if we can get this baby moving. And as soon as I took a bite of the biscuit, I felt a little kick, and then as soon as I felt a little kick, the machine ticked, and I was like, oh, it's ticked. And then I was like, oh, okay, maybe it's okay then. So the midwife had a bit of a feel in my tummy and said, the baby looks like it's changed position, and the limbs are kind of inwards now. So maybe that's why you're not feeling it so much. So I was like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. I didn't know, I've not, not done this before type thing. So I said, okay. So is that kind of it? And she was like, yeah, all good to go. And I was like, oh, okay. Still wasn't too happy with the movements, but I listened and went. Tuesday came, hadn't felt the baby again. Started getting a bit worried, messaging Steve like, what do you think we should do? Do we, I don't want to be a nuisance, I don't want to keep going back if everything's okay type thing, and maybe it's just because they've changed position. And that night we had a hypnobirthing class with the same midwife back at the birthing unit, and she could see me the whole time doing this, and she came up to me and she just said, still no baby movements? And I was like, no. And she was like, oh. And I was like, oh, okay, well, she's not worried, so I shouldn't be worried type thing. I kind of just took it as all right, well, maybe that's what it is then. Maybe it's just not a worry, and they're fine and everything else. Went home, or before we got home actually, Steve said as we were leaving the hypnobirthing class, shall we just get checked out while we're here? And I was like, no, darling, no, it's, they've said it's fine, change position, let's just get home, I'll have a bath and get an early night type thing. So I'll never forgive myself for saying that. Sorry. So we went home, I had the bath, and I thought I felt some movements. I don't think I did. And then looking back now, I got into bed and I had the best night's sleep I've probably ever had, ever, because the baby wasn't, normally it's down by my side, and every time I lay on it I kind of get a bit of a kick to kind of get off of it, and you can't lay on your back, and if I lay on my right I had heartburn, so I had a really good night's sleep because the baby was kind of long ways, because they said that it had changed position, that's kind of where it was. So Wednesday came, I went to work, and at 10:30 in the morning I text Steve and said, still no baby movements, I'm really, really getting concerned now. I'm going to try some cake and some sugar and have a really cold drink and lay down for a bit. So I did. I didn't feel anything. I took the little girl that I look after to her ballet class, and I thought, right, well, you know, we'll sort it out kind of after this, because, you know, if something's not right, I'll know after this class, because they always wake up in the ballet class with the music. Nothing. So I went back to their house, and Steve asked how, you know, if I felt anything. By this point it was just about lunchtime. I said no. I said I'm going to have a lay down and a bit of a poke around, just kind of see, but I really haven't felt anything, and I think we need to call the unit and go and get checked out. So I did call the unit, and when I answered the phone I said, oh, is it Lauren again? Which made me instantly think, oh God, I'm really, you know, am I being a nuisance type thing, and, you know, am I just being paranoid? Because I still at that thought that everything would probably still be okay. Because you don't think at 34 weeks pregnant that anything really can go wrong. And so I went in, and they went to hook me up onto the CTG as normal. And she put it on me, and as soon as she put it on me, she didn't have to took it off straight away. And I was like, oh, she hadn't even kind of done it. And she was like, oh, I'm just going to try over here. Tried another bit. And she was like, don't panic. I'm going to go and get the handheld Doppler. You know, I'm having a bit of trouble locating baby. And I was like, oh, okay. Like thinking maybe it was the machine or something. And she came back in with the handheld one, and she couldn't find a heartbeat. And she said, it's not looking good. I said, please don't say that, please don't let me lose another baby. Please, there must be something you can do. I still didn't really believe it at this point. So, sorry. So I'm sitting there with my big old bump, waiting for the ambulance to arrive, and my mum was in America, and I couldn't get in touch with her. The phone wouldn't ring. I didn't even know what I was going to say, because I didn't really know myself by that point. And Steve sorted out the little girl that I was looking after at the time, and got her looked after and picked up. We got put in the ambulance, and it was so traumatic. It was so loud, and it was blue lighted, and we were getting knocked around all over the place, and the midwife was in tears in the ambulance. Steve was in tears, I'm in tears, desperately still trying to get in touch with my mum, just in absolute shock. I went up the same lift that I'd been up 3 weeks ago. I got taken to the unit, the day assessment unit, and laid on the bed, and the midwife said, oh, the doctor's going to come in and scan you. I said, I don't want them to. I don't want them to have to scan me again, because last time I'd had a scan in my previous pregnancy, that's when they told me there was no heartbeat, and I don't want to hear it again. She said, we've just got to do it. So the doctor came in with the scanning machine, and I looked at the screen, and I could see that there was no heartbeat. I could see it. I looked away again, and And she said, I'm so sorry. And I said, please don't say that. And then I knew from experience that it had to be confirmed by a second doctor. So the second doctor arrives pretty quick. And I had the gel put on again on my tummy. And I just said to him, please don't say it out loud. I know already, please don't say it. So he didn't. And they left. And the midwife broke down and I broke down, and Steve had to hold me. Physically hold me. I just went into complete shock, and the window, I remember the window being open, and just thinking, just let me go, just let me jump, I don't want to be here anymore, I don't want to do this anymore, I don't know what's happening. And the midwife had to go back to the birthing unit, and then I was like, it just kind of like shock hit, and I near enough laughed, and I was like, right, so what's next then? Like, what do we do? Like, I don't know how this works, you know, what, I hadn't even thought about the baby coming out. You know, it's not a little tiny baby at this point, it's, you know, a good size, and I'm only 3 weeks away or 4 weeks away from being term anyway. So, you know, what do we do? I said, I'm not just going to sit in this room. So the nurse came in and she said, you know, she said she was sorry, and I didn't really want to hear it at that point. I just said, okay, thank you, what do we do now? And she said, well, you've got to take this tablet, and it takes 48 hours to work. I said, well, what is it? And she said, it's a tablet to tell your body that you're no longer pregnant. I said, I can't take that tablet because I am pregnant. And I want to be pregnant. I don't want to not be. So I said, I don't want to take the tablet. I said, is there any other way? She said, no. She said, and then you take the tablet and then you have to go home for 48 hours. I said, you can't send me home. I was like, I've got this baby inside me with this big bump. And I said, what? You can't send me home. She said, that's what you have to do. You have to go home and you have to come back. So after a lot of tears, I agreed and took the tablet, which broke my heart taking it. It felt so unnatural to take it, but I did, and I went home. And my dad took Steve and I home, and we just spent the whole night sobbing. Just could not believe what was happening at this point. We still didn't know what to expect. We had no idea what to kind of expect. So we got home, and it was quite late by this point. Didn't sleep, obviously, an inch. And then all the family came round the next day. Everyone was devastated, absolutely devastated, in shock. I'd already texted pretty much everybody that knew I was pregnant. Pretty much as soon as we found out that when they did the bedside scan, I just felt like I just needed everybody to know there and then. I didn't want anyone to text saying, hi, how are you, and bump, and, you know, anything new and things like that, because everyone was keeping a bit more of an eye on me and things because of this previous scare a couple of weeks earlier. So I just felt like everybody needed to know there and then. So I can't imagine what it must have been like for those people receiving that text from me. It was so blunt and so quick, and I didn't know what to do, so I just wanted everybody to know. Everybody was shocked. Family came round, went to bed that night, and it was just awful because you're so used to feeling all these movements and things, and it was just so still, and I just couldn't bear the thought of having a bath, and I didn't want to touch myself, and I didn't want anyone else to feel my bump, and I just felt like I wanted just to not be my body anymore. I just didn't want anything near me. That was on the first day, and the second day I realised that I did want to hold my bump, and I did want to feel it, and I wanted to say sorry to the baby, and just to, I can't say enjoy, but savour the last moments of being pregnant, I suppose, because I knew it was coming to an end. So I did put my hands on my belly, but it felt so unnatural. And when when the baby dies at that far gestation, their obviously is completely still, but when they're in the water, they still move. So she always used to stick her bum out on my left hand side really high, and we used to laugh about it all the time because it was always there, and she'd do it every day, and it was still doing that, you know. I say she now because we know that she was a girl, but we didn't at the time. But she was still doing that, so it kind of was very confusing. And Steve did keep saying, "Oh, you know, just maybe they've got it wrong." And I thought, yeah, maybe they have, because I can still feel stuff going on. But it was more like digestion and things. Everything became a lot more noticeable in my tummy. And so the Friday evening came, and I had to go back to the hospital at 6 o'clock at night. And when we arrived, my mum was back at this point. Luckily, Virgin flew her back for free because of the circumstances. Me, Mum, and Steve went to Brimfield, and we went into a normal birthing room, which was really scary because it was cold, and you had everything set up as if you would give birth and have your baby at the end of it, which we knew that we weren't. So that was really hard. And the midwife came in and said, you know, we are going to start the induction, but we're going to actually move you into another room. And I thought, oh, good, because I don't like it in here at all. And she said, we have got a actual bereavement suite. It's called the Blossom Suite, and it's for this situation. She said, but there is another 5 ladies here tonight in the same situation as you. Which I couldn't believe. I couldn't believe this happens. And I couldn't believe it. There's 5 other people going through the same pain as us. And it was also Baby Loss Awareness Week, which shamefully I hadn't really heard of before and didn't really know much about. So the whole thing was just shocking to me that other people are going through this as well. And so they took us to the room, and it was beautiful. It's more like an apartment. It had like a kitchen and a double bed and a sofa and a whole near enough nursery set up with everything a new mum and baby and family could ever need for the first few days of having a baby. It was absolutely incredible. So we felt a lot more comfortable once we got in there. So at this point it's like 11:30 at night, and they started the induction. So they put 4 tablets in, and then in another 3 hours they'd repeat it, and they do that kind of until labour starts. Well, I'd never experienced labour or birth, and we'd done the hypnobirthing classes, but to be honest, I didn't really have a clue what really to expect. So they put the first 4 in, and then 3 hours later, about 3 o'clock in the morning, they put some more in. And at 4:30, I felt like a period pain. And Mum said, "Oh, that's how it starts." And I was like, "Oh no, Mum, that's not how it starts." It's, you know, she's had 3 children, but I was like, "No. I know that contractions, you feel them quite high. I'm not feeling anything yet. Maybe it's just things softening and getting ready for labour, I suppose." It kind of progressed a little bit, and Mum had a shower, Steve had a shower. I ordered some breakfast, and we were just kind of waiting, I suppose. By this point, we hadn't really thought too much about anything, if I'm being honest. Like we forgot that we didn't know if it was a boy or girl, that we were going to find out. We didn't. It just, I don't know. I can't describe it. We just didn't know what was coming and what it would all be like, but we didn't even think about it. We were just kind of focusing on that moment that we were in. And then things started progressing, and it started getting quite intense, and my waters broke. on the floor. When I looked, it was there was a tiny little puddle, and I was like, "Oh, is that it?" And I could see that there was some meconium in the water, which means the baby had pooed, which I knew to expect anyway because I had read about that, and it means the baby was in distress. And so that really broke my heart seeing that in the waters because I knew that they had struggled. Um, so labour progressed. It was really painful, and when you have a stillbirth, you get hooked up with a cannula, and you're supposed to have morphine, and it's like self-administered, so you shouldn't have to go through all the pain really of labour and birth. It's you're able to kind of do that because there's no risk to the baby, um, which was really hard as well because it kind of finalises things a little bit, knowing that you can have this and there's no risk. That was probably the only thing that was different to if you were going to have a normal labour and birth with a live baby, I suppose. But there was no time to hook me up. This baby wasn't hanging around, and at 8:20, I think it was 8:25, I started pushing, and by 8:27, she was here. And she came out, and I said, "Oh, it's a baby." I was just in complete shock that it all happened so quickly. My whole labour and birth from start to finish. They put on the thing, like on the discharge sheet, it was 20 minutes, so it was very quick, very intense, but amazing, absolutely amazing. She came out, and she was laying there, and she was all just absolutely perfect. And they opened her legs and said, "Oh, do you want to know what you've got?" And we were like, "Oh yeah," like we'd completely forgotten. And we couldn't really tell. Like I think I was in shock. Steve was kind of looking, and we were just a bit like, "I don't really know." The midwife was like, "Oh, it's a girl." We were like, "Oh, that's amazing." I desperately wanted a girl, I really had. And I was thrilled, like on an absolute high, that I'd just done this magical thing that I wanted since I was a little girl. I'd been desperate to be a mummy all my life. And I was. Yeah, it happened. And they bore up to me, and originally I said I wanted skin on skin. And when it came to it, I don't know, I think everything was so quick and it was all a bit of a blur. I said no, which I'm pretty surprised that I said that. I don't really know why. I think it was just all a bit, I don't know. But she laid next to me, she pooed on me instantly, which was quite funny. And Steve cut the cord, and she laid there, and she was just like, she was sound asleep. Like, she was warm and quite big. And I think one of the first things we all noticed about her was her hands. She had really long fingers, and when you put your finger in, her fingers do go round it and they do hold on to you. Obviously not a grip, but her fingers did hold on to mine. And it was quite a magical moment. And then Mum took her and had a cuddle while I got stitched up and cleaned up and everything, and had some toast and whatever you do. But you're on such a high after you give birth. It's a very surreal experience. You're so proud and so pleased, and although our baby wasn't alive, it's like you kind of forgot that because it was just like she was just asleep. So Steve got her dressed with the help of the midwife, and then we realised that she didn't have a name. We had a short list of names, but we were never really set on any of them. Steve had always said, when they come out, he'll take one look at them and he'll know. And sorry. So I said to him, right, you've had a look. What are you going to call her, type thing? He was like, "I have no idea." Absolutely no idea. I was like, "Oh, well, that went well, didn't it?" So she was about 3 hours old at this point, but still no name. And we were like, right, we've really got to think of a name, but we didn't think anything really suited her. And throughout my pregnancy, when you lose a baby, and you go to have another baby, they're called your rainbow baby. So I'd called the pregnancy, like, but the baby, the whole way through, Baby Bow, and just like rainbow but Baby Bow. And that's what all my albums on my phone was called, and that's what, when I text Steve and said Baby Bow, things like that. And when we looked at her, we were like, it just works. Like, she does suit the name Bow. I wanted to keep it as BOW. It's stuck. It's really short. It's cute, and it just really suited her. So once she had a name, we could then start telling people that she was here, which we did, and family came and visited. Quite a lot of people came to visit, actually, which I didn't know that they would want to. I don't know how I would have felt if it was the other way around. Like, I don't know. It was all very new to us and very new to everybody. We'd never experienced this before, and neither had anybody else. So I didn't know that it was even an option to have people come and visit, but it was, and the midwives made sure that we basically had all the choices in the world, like what we wanted to do and things. And it was very much made to feel like, well, she's our baby, and we made the decisions, which was amazing. So, there was lots of cuddles and lots of tears, but also lots of happiness. And we made some really amazing memories with everybody with her. Lots of pictures, hand and footprints, and just everything you can do, kind of thing. And they get put in what's called a cuddle cot, which is like a little Moses basket type thing next to you, and it's cold. It's to keep the baby cold, to kind of preserve them, I suppose. And thanks to that cot, we managed to have so much time with her. It'll never obviously be enough, but it was amazing having that opportunity and things, and just putting her in that. So we stayed another night in the Blossom Suite with Steve, and they looked after the baby overnight, and then brought her back the next day. Another day of cuddles and visitors, and then we decided to go home that night, which was really hard. The hardest part was leaving her at the hospital, even though the midwives were fantastic and took care of her as if she was just, the most precious thing in the world, but she is. And they promised to look after her and talk to her for me. And we left and we got home, and having to come home to a house that you have bought specifically to start a family in, a whole nursery set up, buggies ready to go, car seats, everything you could possibly imagine, bedside crib set up, everything. Coming back knowing that you're not going to get to use these things that you bought for this baby was really hard. We just held each other and went to bed. It was quite late by the time we got back. We'd been told that we could go back the next day to visit. That for the next 2 weeks became our absolute lifeline. We went back every day. We were allowed to, I say allowed, like it was just, I just didn't know that you could have this many experiences, and it made us really feel like parents, and we felt the responsibility when we were there. So we would get her changed, read her books. I just sat and held her and studied her face and stroked her face and kissed her 100 times every day, just telling her how much we love her and how grateful we are to have had her, and how we wouldn't change her for the world. And I never wanted to ask anything of her. I think I never willed her to open her eyes. I never willed her to breathe or to cry. I didn't want to ask anything of her. She'd done everything that she could possibly do, and gave me the most incredible experiences during pregnancy and even afterwards. She was just perfect in every way. She had so much hair, which we didn't expect at all. After washing it, she was quite blonde, beautiful little rosebud lips. She had my nose. She was like top half Steve, bottom half me. Lovely little, like proper dancer's feet. She had pointy toes and fingernails and everything. She was fully developed and just beautiful. Absolutely the most beautiful baby. She weighed £3.7, and just gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. 43 centimeters long. So she wasn't a tiny little dot at all. And so we spent the next 2 weeks making memories, and then it came to the funeral. And you should never have to plan your own baby's funeral, ever. No one should ever have to do it. But you do have to do it. And you have to register the baby as well. I didn't know this information, but we found it out, we got told, and it was actually a really lovely thing to be able to do, because we went into the registry office and it had been something that we'd been dreaming of doing, and we'd talked about during the pregnancy how it would be lovely to go and get them registered and go and have a glass of bubbly afterwards and celebrate them being registered into the world. But it was obviously a very different experience to that. But we still got her registered and said her name, and she's official. You do register them as a stillbirth, which pleased me because I didn't want a death certificate. I knew she obviously had died, but I just didn't want it in writing, which is why when it comes to planning a funeral, it's so hard, because it's just everywhere. Because obviously that's what it is. So we decided that we'd have a little bamboo basket, and she kept all of our teddies and blankets and things, and having to plan what we were going to do, I just couldn't do it. Both Steve and I just couldn't do it, so we didn't. So we just said we're just going to go with the flow and wing it. And that's literally what we did. And on the Monday, the day of our funeral, that's probably one of the hardest days, because we were so lucky. We got to spend, thank you to the lady at the mortuary, was just an angel, and the bereavement midwife, she was just incredible. They allowed us to spend hours with her before we had to officially say goodbye. We got to bath her and put her in her little outfit, and I just couldn't bring myself to give her one last kiss. No, that I was not going to see her again. It was really hard. I held on to her so tight and just told her that I will see her again, and that her mummy loves her more than anything else in the world, and I always will. And I laid her down in her basket, which was a really hard thing to do. Gave her a million smushy kisses, had her all wrapped up in her little blanket and her little woolly hat. She just looked gorgeous. And I got in a car and went to a natural burial ground, which we chose. Steve found it, and it just was more suited for us than a crematorium or a cemetery. Just going to bring ourselves to do it this way. She would stay completely perfect and stay in her basket and everything else. So we turned up, and everyone was obviously there and heartbroken. I carried her the whole way in her basket, and had to hand her over and say goodbye. But we did it, and we've been back every day since. Steve went back to work on Monday this week. Today is Wednesday, and it's exactly 4 weeks to the day that we found out we'd lost her. So we're kind of 4 weeks in, I suppose. And it's not it's not life anymore. It really is just surviving. Each minute it gets tougher, and it's all the plans and the dreams, and this baby had four holidays booked, all booked, ready to go before they were even 6 months old. We were just so excited and just wanted to make as many memories as a family as we could and just enjoy it. We were so ready, and now it's just so empty and and, and quiet, and I'm on maternity leave and with no baby. I don't really know what to do in the days. Um, I, there's just no words for it. You just walk around like everything's just pointless. There just doesn't seem any point to life anymore. All I want to do is be with her, and just be her mummy. And I know that I am her mummy, and that will never change. And I'm so grateful for the time that we had with her. It's absolutely invaluable. I just can't even tell you how grateful we are for everything. And although the days are impossible, and a lot of the time I just don't want to do it anymore, because we were so close, and you just don't think these things are going to happen. Just didn't know enough about it, and I'm now in a group, like a support group with all these women who have lost babies at Broomfield Hospital and had stillbirths. And obviously they're the only people that truly understand the pain. Like I said, Steve's gone back to work, which is really hard for him because he doesn't want to have to tell people, because he's obviously absolutely devastated as well. We're trying to support each other, but it's very hard. I don't know what the days are going to bring. I know it's still early. I don't know about anything really at the moment. I've got the most fantastic friends and family. My parents have been just incredible because they're hurting as well. And obviously my mum was there that whole time, and she didn't leave my side, and my dad's been there the whole time as well. And friends have looked after us and bought us food and taken such good care of us. It really is the only thing that's keeping us going. But I really felt like I wanted to get Bo's story out and to kind of give some insight into what this new world that I'm in is really like. It's not a world that anyone wants to be in or chooses to be in, but like us, there was no choice. We have no choice, and we'd give anything to go back, but we can't, and that's a really hard pill to swallow because it's all that you dream about, it's all you think about. But I wanted to tell her story, and I want her name out there. We are so proud of our firstborn baby daughter. Couldn't be more proud to be her parents, and I don't know what the future holds, but I just wanted to, if anybody has any questions or knows somebody that's been through it or has any advice or help or anything for us as well, please do message me. A support network is really the only thing, like I said, it keeps you going. So I just wanted to tell our story and hope that one day, I don't know if we will ever get the chance, but if we do ever get the chance again, I will update and just try. I just want to try to help anybody that might be going through it. Because it does happen, and it happened to us. So I just wanted everybody to know that that's what we've been through. And yeah, that's about it really. Sorry, I've been so emotional. I don't do very well. Okay, I look forward to hearing from you if you have any questions.